What's going on with that PPP? You done a lot of talking, not a lot to see. Up in the millions like 2.3, but Jeff got it all, getting off scot-free. Try to talk tips like we talking about stock, but you're talking about men printed on called stock. When you open your mouth, I take it with a grain of salt, cause the market's down and you're a clown, it's all your fault. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. Did you dip, Jeff? I think you dipped, Jeff. What you talking about? I don't think you dipped yet. Willie's doing shady shit like the GOBs, like his whole failed thing with them NFTs, taking money from the people to pay. Most of them are broke, but that's okay, he's getting money. Even better, tax-free, loving all the stimulus from PPP. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit.
One more time on that, DJ. One more,
Please.
B-side on the beat.
What's going on with that PPP? You done a lot of talking, not a lot to see. Up in the millions like 2.3, but Jeff got it all, getting off scot-free. Try to talk tips like we talking about stock, but you're talking about men printed on called stock. When you open your mouth, I take it with a grain of salt, cause the market's down and you're a clown, it's all your fault. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. Did you dip, Jeff? I think you dipped, Jeff. What you talking about? I don't think you dipped yet. Willie's doing shady shit like the GOBs, like his whole failed thing with them NFTs, taking money from the people to pay. Most of them are broke, but that's okay, he's getting money.
Hey.
Even better, tax-free, loving all the stimulus from PPP. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit.
What is going on, everybody? Hopefully guys are doing well out there. That is right. It is another Thursday night here at Sports Card Radio. We are live, and this is the most important live stream in a generation here on Sports Card Radio. We'll get to more about generational type things happening in this hobby here in a moment, but we've got super producer Tim in the background joining us as always this week, and obviously always as well, although we've only been doing this about a month, so we haven't had a long history of doing live streams here at Sports Card Radio, but we are joined by none other than Ryan tonight. What is going on?
Just hanging out here on a Thursday night, maybe not as eventful as my Tuesday night, where I went out with I believe her occupation might have been a dancer. We'll leave this as a family show. You don't go on dates with dancers. You go out with a dancer. So probably one of my all-time greatest Tuesday nights in lifetime history. So we're going to try to make this live stream, would you say the most important live stream in a generation. So, we'll try to really rise to the occasion today.
Biggest live stream in a generation. Thank you, John Fishman, for $1.99. Better long-term buy, Jeff or Brian Gray? We'll talk about that on today's show. We've got some influencer cards. And so these are interesting. These are going to be coming out in Topps Big League. Are these out already, or is this something that is coming out? I'm not exactly sure. We don't post checklists on our sites anymore. But it looks like you've got 5 influencers that are going to have cards. My first reaction when Jeff Wilson was going to have a card is I totally want him to inscribe this PPP. And so we'll see if anybody's able to do that. If anybody can get Jeff Wilson to inscribe this PPP either through the mail or in person, I will definitely be a buyer of that. We have a Topps employee accused of dipping. a current Topps employee accused of dipping. We'll have to run through that story. Ryan's been following this for the last couple of weeks. I believe you are in contact with this Topps employee who, again, is allegedly dipping, although at this point it does look like he's dipped. Now it's just a matter if he can return these cards. Poor ECG Grading. What a shocker this one is. The shocker of the year. Probably, I mean, we're only a couple of months into 2023. This is the biggest shock of the year, is that ECG Grading has filed for bankruptcy. And so we'll talk about that, obviously, here on the show. Fanatics made a once-in-a-generation type announcement earlier today. I think I saw more tweets than there actually be cards printed of this type of thing this year. So we'll talk about that. This is also, the reason why this is the most important live stream in a generation here at Sports Card Radio. Shout out to the chat. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day out there. Thank you for your support. As always, a lot of things going on in the hobby. We got opening day. We've got a former president being indicted. We've got NBA basketball, I'm sure, as well. A lot of people are gearing up for the Final Four. It's just a wonderful time in sports. And next week we've got the Masters. So, it's just one of those weeks where as sports fans, we're just super excited. Now, Whatnot is trying to get you to not watch NBA basketball, not watch the Final Four, and actually watch their streams and maybe potentially get paid for it to watch for that hanky-panky. So we'll talk about that. This is in response to our last week's live stream where we talked about, there was like 2 major dipping incidents last week with Grandpa's Garage and Retail Rips, I think it was, or Retail Breaks, one of those, or Retail Kings, I think was the breaker's name. And they were dipping cards like it was their job, which, apparently if you look at Retail King's Instagram feed, it was full of downtown. So it looks like they've been dipping downtown for a while over there. Well, Whatnot has responded to that. And it looks like they're trying to have a community just randomly will have Shine's mugshot here and his rap sheet. I'm not exactly sure how this came up on my screen. And then really interesting night for bidding wise for us. We're probably not going to win that many cards. We'll talk about a little bit. We did on our Clips channel. We had an unboxing last week, and you've already flipped a couple of those cards onto eBay. But there's some interesting cards, most specifically. A Xi Jinping World Leaguer manufactured patch card is sitting at $6,000, which Ryan noted might be the most expensive Leafs card of all time. So we'll talk about that on today's show. Ryan, what about these influencer Topps cards that are coming out in Big League? Are you upset that Topps didn't call us and create maybe a dual SER Topps card? Or are you excited about maybe potentially pulling these in packs? What's your thoughts on these Topps influencer cards that are coming out in Topps Big League?
I don't have a problem with it at all. I mean, I'm not a customer of Topps Big League Baseball, so I wouldn't even be buying these packs. I might actually look on eBay for a Jeff Wilson and see how much they are. I'd like to find one at a card show and actually flip it to him. He's probably going to be one of the #1 buyers of these cards, right? So I feel like, I don't know if it's a really short print card, if there's only 100 of them, are they easy to get? Are there only 5 of them? So it could be a card that is actually really hard to get. Not totally sure how they're going to kind of issue them, but if you hang around long enough in the hobby, you might get Topps to make a card of you. You can actually just go to their website and they'll make custom Topps cards for you all the time. So this is not anything new. I think it's kind of a fun little gimmick in a set like Big League. Now, if they put Jeff Wilson in National Treasures or Topps Transcendent Baseball or Tribute or some very expensive product with other baseball players, people might, gripe at that. But if it's in Big League, which I believe is literally like a 99 or 199 price point per pack, it might be kind of interesting to land one of these cards, and your #1 buyer for this card might be Jeff Wilson. So I bet this card will pay for the pack, might even pay for the box. So I personally don't have a problem with it all. Like he said, if we could get this guy to inscribe it with PPP, I think if you could get Will Grier to sign one, that might be the easiest thing. Get Will Grier to sign one. Come on. I think that would be pretty funny. So I don't know. What do you think about these things?
Well, it looks like they've got about 5 of them. So obviously Jeff Wilson, Sports Card Investor, got a card. Aaron Nowak from Slab Stocks. I'm not familiar with him, but he looks like he's getting one. Ryan Johnson, who is Card Collector 2, posts here a lot on YouTube. Stephanie Garcia of Mama Breaks, another person I'm not particularly familiar with. And Tim McHenry of Slab Strong. So I honestly, maybe it's a little bit of embarrassment.
Dude, where is Great Creator, Mojo,
Yeah.
Sasha T? I mean, come on now. They missed out on probably about like a half dozen names here that would have been obvious. And maybe they're going to be in Big League Series 2.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's true. If there's a Big League Series 2, or they do it again next year. But yeah, I mean, maybe it just maybe in our universe over here at Sports Card Radio, we're not paying attention to a wide enough swath of these influencers. I only know who Card Collector 2 and Sports Card Investor are. I couldn't pick the other three out of a lineup. Although Stephanie Garcia in a lineup of card collectors is probably going to stand out because most happen to be male. So I might be able to point her out. So I think it's actually kind of cool. Like you said, do I want to see this in flagship top? Do I want to see this in Topps 5-star, whatever the top, set is? No, I don't want to see this. But look, they've done this before. You had an example here of Tom Fish at Blowout. I believe you were at this event. These were at the Topps Transcendent events. One of the raffle prizes, I believe, was that you got your own card in Ginter. And so he has one. And I believe Nathan Burns of Grand Slam Collectibles also had a card. I believe he paid a large amount of money.
That was a charity raffle.
Raffle. He did a charity raffle. And I think it was well over, you said $30,000 to get his Ginter card. I think Tom Fish either won the raffle or he bought it off the person that won the raffle.
Well, so when you're at these parties, right, there's only like 50 people in the room. And one of the prizes is you get this card in Allen and Ginter. And it's well known that Tom Fish wanted this. These were the first two parties that I was at. And so I think the number that was being floated around that he would have paid $10,000 for it. So I remember talking to some guys that were there. I was like, dude, if I win this, cut the check. $10,000 or a stupid Allen and Ginter card, give me the $10,000. So I don't know if he might have actually won the legitimate raffle because he would have about 20 of the passes for these Transcendent parties himself. So he might have won that. He might have paid for that. But that was always kind of the running joke at the first two Transcendent parties was Tom Fish wanted the Ginter card and he was willing to pay 5 figures for it. And you better believe that if I would have won that Allen and Ginter card, I would have sold it to Tom Fish or the next highest bidder because, $10,000. That sounds, pretty sweet.
Sounds good to me right now. Could get this Xi Jinping card. It looks like maybe for right under $10,000. But the only interaction I've ever had with Tom Fish is I was at the Topps party, or not the Topps party, but the Topps conference. This was not this last year when we talked to Seablaz a couple of weeks ago. He was at the one at the Arizona Diamondback Stadium. The year before, it was at an India casino. And Tom Fish could not stop staring me down like he was going to pull up and do something. So that's my only interaction with him. I know you've had a lot of interactions with him, and he probably, us being twins, he probably thought I was you. And he was giving me the stank eye. And I was like, who is this guy? I didn't even know who he was. He looks a lot older. The mugshot that we had on our website, and obviously this photo as well, which is more or less Photoshop to make him look like a baseball player. He looks way older than most of the most recent photos that I've seen. So it took me a minute to figure it out. But yeah, definitely a lot of people took notice that Tom Fish, owner of Blowout Cards, was giving Sports Card Radio the stank eye. I don't have a problem with these influencer cards. I think they're kind of interesting. Would I want to be on one? No, unless there was a payday or something. And if I got offered to be one, I would love to be able to put that up for auction and sell it because I would take the money over being on a baseball card any day. But I tell you what, first person that gets a legitimate, I'd like to have some photo evidence of it because anybody could write PPP and I don't know what Jeff Wilson's signature looks like, but the first person that can get Jeff Wilson to sign PPP on his cards, I'll do a $200 bounty on that card. I'll send you $200 PayPal, $200 Venmo, and I want that card. I would like it to be PPP and then, maybe signed by Jeff Wilson. First person that can provide visual evidence of him signing the card and then sending that to me will get $200 bounty on that one. Ryan, got some major news happening in the hobby. when it relates to Topps. We have a Topps employee accused of a consignment scam. This appears to be a situation that occurred before he was hired onto Topps. And after being hired onto Topps, it appears that he's left several collectors left holding the bag. Ryan, if you could run down what is happening with this Topps employee and maybe the updated situation. I know you've actually been in contact with this individual, and maybe give everybody an update on the situation.
Okay, so this is something that's been percolating, gosh, probably for over a month. I maybe heard about this over a month ago, but just kind of put it on the back burner. Didn't really, really want to talk about it until I got more information. Anyways, this guy, Richard, who works at Topps, used to run this LVBK Collectibles. It was a consignment service. So you would send your cards into him and he would sell them. And so what happened is that this thing only lasted about a year or so. At one point, I think he said he had about 50,000 listings. He went out of business, got hired at Topps, supposedly, moved across country, and about 7,000 cards and an unknown amount of collectors or consigners are still owed cards and or money from this guy from September 2022. So it's been about 6 months. And so these people are getting very frustrated at what's going on here. They've started to contact us. Top Shelf breaks with the $102.22. What am I doing with my life? Sending super chats to grown-ass men from the beach. Spring break, Florida. Let's get it, boy. Spring break, Florida.
Spring break in Florida sounds really good. Thank you, Top Shelf Breaks, for the $102. That's maybe double what we've made all week here on YouTube. So I appreciate that very much. Top Shelf Breaks, someone that I think I met him I know I met him at the Topps conference a year ago. Wish I would have made it out to this one. Maybe next time we'll make it out there. Top Shelf, enjoyed talking with you. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. Very generous. $102.22. Very much appreciated.
And so freeze the screen here, but back to the story at hand here. So about 7,000 cards and probably money has been held up for over 6 months here. And so obviously these people who hold these cards or are owed money are getting a little frustrated. So I reached out. I've heard actually from several of these customers. I finally reached out to Richard. To his credit, he got right back to me. I just kind of let him explain the situation. Hey, what's going on? I didn't want to go in guns blazing. I didn't have cards consigned here. I didn't get screwed here. So there's no reason for me to come in guns blazing here. I really just wanted to open up the lines of communication, see what happens. Are these cards, he claims that all these cards that are owed to people, he still has, and he's just, for one reason or another, one excuse or another, hasn't got around to doing it. I hope by making this video, posting the article that we did today that had several thousand views on our article. I mean, there's literally, there's a reason why I post over there. Several thousand people viewed that article today. So I hope, thank you, Pat, for the $199. Don't get used to 102. Yeah, maybe you're talking about the temperature.
I think the 102 from Top Shelf Breaks. It's like triple what we normally make.
Yeah, shout out Top. I'm gonna be wearing a Top Shelf Breaks hat and a Top Shelf Breaks t-shirt and
we'll be dripped out in Top Shelf Breaks memorabilia and swag next week.
And we'll do an awkward 30-second intro like the ExpressVPN one the other day. So LVBK Collectibles. He's been stalling for 6 months. Look at his recent eBay feedback. It looks like he sold some stuff and then he didn't ship it. So these people have probably had to go back through eBay and get refunds and all this kind of different stuff. So like I said, I reached out to Richard. I said, hey man, what's going on here? He admits that, hey, he's kind of screwed up, but he pledges to kind of get the ball rolling here. Anything he needs to do. AIH Sports in the house. AIH Sports in the house. I saw Dan, the card man, also in the house. So the people who have consigned with him and the people that are owed cards have nothing nice to say about this guy. Supposedly, and I just found this out today through an anonymous source, that Richard was supposed to meet up with one of the people he owed cards to at the Dallas Card Show and no-showed. He's ghosted some of the people. that he owes cards to. So that's why we have heard about this. Like I said, I've heard about this about a month ago. Shout out, Dan the Card Man. The Australian dollar is weak. I live in a king. Hey, Dan the Card Man with the Australian $2.99. We'll just have to come over there at some point and spend that with him. Maybe that'll buy a beer or two. I don't know the exchange rate. So, but probably the weather is probably good in Australia. And that's all I need. Probably the weather and some other things are really good in Australia. But the people who have consigned cards to this guy who currently works at Topps and Fanatics are furious at this guy. They've had it up to here. They've waited 6 months. This guy's given them a runaround. He's ghosted them. He's no-showed them. So I feel their pain. That's why we're here kind of talking about this. I didn't go in guns blazing on Richard because I hope that, hey, if he does have these cards, hey, you've been lazy, for whatever, a few months. Hey, just start processing 5 orders a day or whatever and get through it. These people are going to get their cards back. It'll be water under the bridge if everybody gets their stuff back and you just try to make it right. So that's what I hope will happen. I don't know what will happen here, but to his credit, Richard did back out to me. He says he's got all the cards. He says he's going to work on it. He says his life has been all hectic for the last 6 months and that maybe now things have settled down. He's going to get around to it. So I hope that maybe we just apply a little bit of our Sports Card Radio pressure over here, make this public. I know first of all, this is maybe the biggest point. There are a lot of big names in the hobby who use this guy as a consigner. Names that I could literally rattle off right now, and you would recognize names that we've already shown and or mentioned on this very program. Some big names in the hobby have used this guy and are mad. So what do you think about this whole situation? It's pretty crazy.
Do we have a dollar amount of what we're talking about here? I can imagine I've been seeing some of the emails that we've been getting. I've seen all the emails that we've been getting. My guess is we're not talking about, $15 cards here. And usually with a consignment service, you're dealing with slightly higher amounts. Do we have any idea on how much cash? It sounds like he hasn't paid people out for auctions that were consigned with him. And then on top of that, it sounds like maybe he still has some cards as well. Do we have a dollar amount that this guy is responsible for?
The only thing I got into with just the specific amount of cards that maybe he had in his possession and that were left. I know that he has 5,000 cards just for one individual. One person, 5,000 cards. Now, Richard said most of the cards are $1 to $5 cards, but even at 7,000 cards at $5 a card is actually a significant amount of money. One individual that emailed us said that he's out probably about $3,000 to $4,000 just on his own. So we are talking about, into the 5 figures, probably dollar amount, I would imagine at least. Shout out to Cron 199. Please come to the Dallas Card Show sometime. I did actually in 2020. I think I was there. It was amazing. That is a freaking amazing card show. If you are anywhere within the vicinity of Dallas, or you want to go to kind of a very, actually, frankly, large, I don't even want to call it a mid-sized card show. It's a very large card show, packed, lots of stuff, lots of activity going on. Definitely go to the Dallas Card Show. Hopefully we can go back. I enjoyed my time in Dallas. I had a couple of fun nights out there in Dallas when I went, and it was great. That was actually one of the first card shows I had went to since the boom. And to see, literally, I saw all the influencers with cameras and camera crews and people, and I was blown away. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Shout out to Jay Lawrence with the $110.
You guys are on fire tonight. It must have been payday.
Appreciate your content. Plus your
They must not have consigned cards with this guy because these guys clearly are pretty financially secure.
So we're going to have Top Shelf Breaks hats, Drip Shop Live hoodies. Kenny's probably going to drip us out in something here, some ice or something here. It's pretty soon. So, I mean, Express VPN will be banners.
We'll be on a VPN. Yes.
Shout out. Thank you. Drip Shop Live CEO, $110. We appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So this situation, I tell you what, I think what it does is it highlights that Hobby Shark with the $1.99. Thank you guys. Put this on Shine's
Commissary. No, it's
Sorry,
commissary.
Yeah, we'll make sure we take care of Shine here in a moment, guys. I don't know why I have this up, but to wrap up this, look, if you're going to consign cards with people, and I hate telling people what to do with their cards, I hate telling people what to do with their money and these types of things. But if you're going to consign cards, it's we'll talk about here. Our next story is going to be talking about grading cards. Okay. If you're going to grade your cards, there's like 2, maybe 3 graders that I would use, period. End of story. No, there's no other conversation to be had. If you're going to be consigning your cards with somebody, we're probably talking again about a list about as long, 2 or 3 consign, maybe a little bit longer.
I can think of 4.
You maybe think of 4. Okay. There's at least 2 on eBay that I can think of. And there's at least 2 probably off of eBay, depending again, what you're selling. Like, guys, why are we consigning cards with this guy? It's not to let him off the hook. It's not to make excuses for what he did. The sports card community is very trusting. It's very loyal, but come on, Kelly Kell, we the retail kings over here. Well, not anyway.
Yeah.
Right. The retail kings, we'll see if they're still breaking. We'll talk about whatnot here in a minute, but I would not consign, look, unless I don't understand what this guy had to offer you over a DC Sports, over a Probstein, over Golden, over a PWCC, over someone else, Pristine Auction, Heritage Auction. Like, what is this guy offering you over those other ones? Like, even if it's a slightly better rate, here's what happens. Same thing happens in the grading. They offer you just a slightly better teaser rate on those grades. And then what happens? You get your cards back. They're not really worth anything because they're in some worthless slab. And on top of that, the company goes bankrupt. So, Transit, anything else on the...
There's a guy in chat. Hey, there's a guy in chat, the Card Rabbi, that said he's a victim of this guy.
So I got another message as well I got another message on Instagram. There's a lot of people that are impacting this guy. This guy obviously either did some really good marketing, or this guy, for some reason, won the trust of a lot of people and got a lot of cards and a lot of money. And that is the unfortunate situation, because he works at Topps. He's not one of the high ups. So his salary is probably not going to be able to cover these types of things. So I'm concerned. And I believe this is probably going to be a developing situation as we continue to move forward.
Card Rabbi, hit us up on email, sportscardshow@gmail.com. Would love to, kind of your insight and kind of what, the cards you have over there, and kind of what your experience has been. Is he still communicating with you? Like I said, $35,000 worth of cards. He stole over 35,000 grand would be a lot of cards. It's this whole situation just sounds really bad. Like I said, I heard about it a month ago. I've been kind of just waiting because I was just hoping that maybe, this would get cleared up and maybe, things would be okay. But I don't know. I'm worried about this one. I'm worried that maybe some of the cards are missing, that it's too complicated to figure out. One of the things he mentioned to me is that he had 250,000 cards himself that were his. That's a lot of cards. 250,000 cards is physically a lot of cards. So if they're actually all jumbled up and he's actually doesn't have this very well organized, we got, Houston, we have a problem. And it's been 6 months. If it had only been a month or even maybe 2 months, people make mistakes, things happen, as long as people get their cards back at the end of the day, I think everybody will come out of this good. But it's been since September. We're going on over 6 months. So it's very worrisome. And the fact that I haven't heard from one person, I haven't heard from 2 different people. I've heard from 3 or 4 different people. And I knew that it was this guy a month ago. but I just waited because I didn't, like I said, I'm not trying to go in guns blazing because I didn't have cards in there myself, and I'm hoping it works out. So anything that we can do to help, I don't know what we can really do aside from raise awareness and maybe put a little pressure. But I
think the next course of action is, with this type of money, you got to go to the authorities. It's time to go to the police. It's time to start filing police reports. It's time to start suing them. That's the next step at this point. Because I don't know enough about this guy, but I doubt he has a 9-figure bank account. So the money's not coming back. And so you got to go after him in other ways. Look, you make this big of a mistake, you've got to, there are consequences to this. And I don't know where he lives. I don't know, how to get the authorities involved in this situation. But when we're talking about 4 or 5 figure type deals, and we're talking about across numerous collectors at this point, we're probably looking at a 6-figure situation here. This is absolutely something that the authorities should be involved in. And so that would be my suggestion. And look, our emails are open, our DMs are open. This is something that we'll probably have a solo video on here in I would assume probably the coming weeks. We're still kind of in information gathering mode. And we're hoping maybe by getting some of this initial word out, it causes this guy to start doing the right thing. We'll see. And obviously, if there's any movement on that, we'd certainly love to hear it. But another unfortunate situation here in the hobby. Another unfortunate situation, Ryan, is elite card grading, ECG. For those of you who don't remember, Ryan did a video on this guy. He was not dipping cards like your favorite whatnot breakers, but he was dipping as in, like the tobacco chew, and he was spitting it out in a bottle, which, look, I used to occasionally enjoy a little dip here and then when I was in college. Okay. Very rarely, but I've had a little dip in my mouth before. It's not the worst thing. But it was clear from the beginning that this company was set to fail, just like every 3-acronym grading company that's not named PSA, SGC, even BGS has really slept. I mean, we used to see BGS have essentially a leading position when it came to grading modern cards. That company is nowhere to be seen at this point, basically. And maybe you have CSG. That's it. But I honestly, as I sit here today, I have no idea why anybody would send their cards to anybody but PSA. Like, for real. Okay. The pricing is about the same. The turnaround times are about the same. I understand when a lot of people got into this hobby after Jeff Wilson's second PPP loan cleared, and he was pumping out the videos and he was telling you about this grading company or that grading company, and everybody was worried about the backlog and those types of things. And I understand PSA has a large upcharge. So sure, if you have a $10,000 card, $20,000, $50,000, $90,000 card, I understand that maybe now there's a decision to be made. But for the vast majority of cards in existence, I literally have no idea why anybody would grade with anybody other than PSA. The price is the same. The turnaround time is the same. The reputation is better. And the value of that slab that it adds is greater than all the other grading companies, maybe combined. That's where we sit today. It hasn't always been this case. This is our 15th year doing content. It hasn't always been the case, but I just don't see a reason why anybody would grade with an ECG, let alone really anybody else. There's no excuse. There are excuses. I can understand an argument for SGC. Can understand the argument for BGS. Can understand an argument. What's the other one? CSG. Okay, I get it. You can make that argument. I'm not going to disagree with you. But when we start talking about tag grading, we start talking about ECG, we start talking about anybody else. HGA. You might as well just light your money on fire. Just light the cards on fire and your money at the same time on fire. I don't understand it. Ryan, do you have any comments on ECG? Probably the most telegraphed and easy to predict bankruptcy in the history of the hobby.
Well, a lot of these grading companies, HGA, ECG, they came along when BGS was shut down, when PSA was shut down, and the backlog was huge, and it was a year to get your card back. So you could see why it would be appealing. You go, you meet these guys at a show, and hey, instead of waiting a year to get your card back from one of the companies you named, you could get it back in 2 weeks for $20 or whatever they were charging at the time. So you could see there was a little moment in time where these companies had relevancy. And then suddenly, once PSA basically opened back up, pushed the price down, you can see the price of grading has consistently kind of shot down. It basically will eliminate these guys altogether. I'm imagine HGA is probably, the next one, and probably anybody else who started, great, these kind of third-rate companies. So I could see you are a brand new collector. You don't know anything. You don't know the hierarchy of grading. You go to a card show, and these guys could talk you into sending 20 cards. Okay. And so what happened was if you can't read that letter, essentially ECG went out of business. They still had orders, much like our guy Richard over, at the consignment shop. He still had collector cards. They still had orders they needed to fulfill. So they needed to return those cards. And I think we're in the process of ECG returning those cards along with that letter. Now, not everybody has gotten their cards yet. And some people are still, in limbo. Are they going to get their cards or not from ECG? So it's something to stay on top of, but this company will be no longer. And like you said, we're literally talking about there's really one clear choice when you're grading. There are obviously some other options that you could talk me into. But I think those other 3 grading companies are severely going to have to drop their price to probably under $10 at some point to really compete with PSA. If PSA kind of reaches capacity and is able to grade cards in a 30-day time frame or whatever it is for $20 or whatever kind of the magic number is. So again, the least obvious thing in the world happened here. One of these 5th, 6th tier grading companies went out of business. I imagine we're going to see more of these into the future, as the year goes on, possibly HGA and some of the other ones. So just another hobby casualty, and, just another one bites the dust.
Another one bites the dust. I tell you what, there was a big announcement apparently today from the MLB and Topps. We obviously had opening day baseball. Like many of you, I hit the record button and watch the Giants play like a AAA baseball team. Won't waste any time talking about that. But there are these I did see this on the TV. There was a Yankees player making his MLB debut, and he had this tiny little patch, as you can see maybe there potentially on the screen. And apparently when an MLB player makes his debut, he's going to have this tiny little patch, and they're going to cut this off and make a 1-of-1 baseball card. Now, pretty decent idea. I actually think this is kind of cool. Honestly, I think what would be cooler is if you wore this for a month or like a couple of weeks, and then you create a bunch of these cards. But look, a 1-of-1 baseball card with this patch on it, certainly if it's a rookie prospect that has caught a lot of hype or anything like that, might be kind of interesting. But Fanatics build this as one of the biggest announcement and the most innovative moves in trading cards in a generation. Generation's a long time. I think in our generation, Ryan, we've seen serial number cards, autograph cards, patch cards, dual autograph cards, cut autograph cards. We've seen just a dramatic, increase in the types of cards and the collectability of cards over our lifetime, our generation. Do you believe this tiny little patch that's going to be cut off and put into one card where 99.99999% of collectors will never probably even see this card, let alone have the funds to buy it or potentially even buy it? Do you think this is a big announcement and an innovative move for the generations in the hobby, Ryan?
Well, all these are going to end up in loaded boxes over at Backyard Breaks anyways, right? So that's how that's going to work. So look, I actually think it's a cool idea. The problem I had with it is they build this at the Topps party that, remember, C-Blast talked to us about, not the Topps party, the Topps industry conference that C-Blast went to and he talked to us about. They build this as the biggest product innovation in a generation. So Brian Gray on AIH Sports Channel theorized that maybe LeBron James was going to sign with Fanatics. That might still happen, but that was the thought, that it was going to be something actually big. These guys wearing a patch where, again, how many rookies? Dude, there's going to be a bunch of guys making cup of coffees in September. Dude, like those relief pitchers who literally pitch 9 innings and then they'll never play again in the big leagues. Like, they're just going to be, you know, a bunch of these junk patches out there. I don't know how they're going to distribute the cards. Are these cards going to be in cheap products? Are they going to be in expensive products? Are they going to be on Golden? Are they going to be, are they going to consign them with their guy, Richard, who works for them? You know, I don't know how you're going to be able to buy these cards, how the cards are going to look. I think it's a cool idea. The problem was, and here's the worry, if Fanatics thinks this is like a generational idea, oh, this whole thing about 10Xing the hobby and growing the hobby, that's all BS, guys. This is just a bunch of hot air that these guys are blowing, because this isn't a generational idea. Every card company has come up with something as equal to this. When you give this a little air to breathe, and when you see these cards, and when a lot of these rookies aren't even a big deal, you know, you're going to be like, that's a cool idea, but like, I can't afford those cards, or Backyard Breaks only pulls those cards, so I never even see them. So the problem was, to me, is Fanatics overhyped, under-delivered, and is that going to be the norm going forward with Fanatics? Is that the way they're going to do business? Overhype, under-deliver. That's a scary proposition, because, I mean, they've got Manfred, the commissioner, in this video. They've got the CEO, the Mahan guy, being like, oh, this is generational. It's like, guys, where have you been? Like, I know it's been a sleepy hobby for 10 or 20 years, and they haven't put big marketing into it. This is not a freaking generational idea, like, at all. I could rattle off 5 things in my head that maybe aren't as cool as or as interesting, but will generate more money and more interest and reach more collectors. What are there? How many rookies debut each year? I don't freaking know. 100? I don't know. Something around that number. And so what? There's only going to be 100 of these cards? How many people? Like, this is not going to impact that many people. So they overhyped, they underdelivered. That's the only problem. I think it's a cool idea. I love the integration, but it's just a effing, you know, I'm worried about the future of their marketing and their other plans. And when they tell us something big will happen, that it'll be underwhelming.
Yeah, and I think, I tell you what, though, they did hit it out of the park from a marketing perspective. I saw a ton of tweets for cards that, like, almost no one's ever going to see and no one's ever going to buy. But when they do come up, so there was the Yankees prospect, his name, you know, slips my mind today, but I was watching the Yankees. They've got a young prospect up. He's got one of these patches on. He looks like a pretty darn good player to me. So when that card does get pulled, when that card maybe potentially gets up on an auction site like Golden or something, and it starts generating a lot of interest and stuff like that, yeah, only one person is going to buy that. Only one person's going to have a chance to buy that card. It's probably going to end up in the hand of a collector, and maybe you see it a couple times, you know, over the course of your lifetime collecting. It will create a lot of marketing, though, and so I will give them credit here. They went over the top with the marketing, the most innovative move in a generation. It's a little over the top for me, but it is a marketing move. It is going to garner attention. When these cards do hit the shelves, people are going to be chasing for them. They're going to be looking for them. When they are pulled, it'll be a discussion point. That's more than we can say about most cards. So for at least this season, we are going to be looking for this, but in subsequent season as well, you have we don't have this gigantic rookie this year that kind of transcends things, maybe like an Ohtani or a Bryce Harper or something like that. But it's cool. I think it's okay. I think they can tone down the hyperbole a little bit, but other than that, this will bring some attention to trading cards, and they're going to be mass produced. Okay, these are 1-of-1 cards. If they're going to 10x this hobby, they're going to be mass producing these cards. Okay, just by evidence of that. I mean, they're making influencer cards now, so they clearly have started to run out of ideas when it comes to, when Jeff Wilson has his own trading cards. They're clearly starting to run out of ideas over at Topps. So here's an idea, and it is something that I think will garner some attention and garner some marketing. Now, what got our attention last week on our live stream in beautiful San Diego, California, is Whatnot has finally started to, well, they've been addressing the situation. Really, they've been coming out of their own pocket. A lot of the time, a breaker dips or they don't send you their cards or whatever. Whatnot is providing the financial support for that. And it could be built into their fee structure as well, as you're being charged a transaction fee on that. Part of it goes to maybe insurance that these items get to where they're supposed to be going, or breakers dipping or whatever. Well, Whatnot responded. This was just a couple of days ago. We're looking about 5 days ago. Whatnot says they strive to be the safest place for people to buy and sell. That's not really saying a whole lot inside of the hobby, but they acknowledge the power of the community is critical in making the hobby safer. Today, we're introducing Whatnot Watch. So kind of like, you got your neighborhood watch. Now you got Whatnot Watch, a pilot community moderator program to help do so. We're looking to enlist your help in raising the bar and setting a new standard of trust. Like, people weren't doing this already. Program perks, including being paid for your time spent on Whatnot, exclusive Whatnot merchandise, Whatnot badges, and more. So it sounds like Kelly Kell, if she wants to make a little bit of money, she was the one that tweeted this out. I think she's in the chat tonight. Hopefully she's having a good day. Hopefully not experience any more dipping on Whatnot. But it looks like they're enlisting the community. This is a step in a direction, I think. And so we'll see what this leads to. Ryan, your thoughts on Whatnot enlisting the community to help support and catch some of the dipping that is going on that platform?
I think it's a good idea. It's just executing it month after month. And how are you going to do that? You're going to have somebody, in customer service or over at Whatnot kind of monitoring your watchers. And then what are the kind of things that are in place that when somebody dips, or what's the thing? Does the breaker get suspended? Does he get banned? Kelly Kell with the $5. They should actually hire actual employees to handle this. Yes. Ironically, when I tweeted, I said you need a moderation platform. Yes, I totally agree with this. How are ongoing this. Okay, it's great to come up with this idea, and they have this kind of big tweet, and hey, we're going to have this Whatnot watch, and our platform is going to be safer. But 30 days from now, is it safer? 60 days from now, is it safer? 90 days? How do you ongoing this Whatnot watch? How do you manage that? How does it all work? What are the employees at Whatnot's role in it? So I think it's a good idea. It's just executing it time after time after time. And then when an instant happens, when somebody dips, what's the protocol? Are they banned, suspended, interviewed on Sports Card Radio? What's the protocol there? So I think good idea in theory, execution, we'll see what happens. I love Kelly Kell's idea. Hey, they just need to hire more people. They've blown all this investment money. They opened a $100,000 box of 8687 and let a bunch of influencers open it at the National. $100,000 would probably hire an employee or two, probably about 0.3 of one out here in California, but it might hire somebody to, literally dedicate their entire day for 8 hours a day to moderating Whatnot, or at least maybe on the sports card side. Certainly we needed that last week when there were 2 or 3 different breakers dipping cards off camera. So if it's happening 2 or 3 times in a week, you could bet that this happens quite a bit. And then the other problem on Whatnot is you could buy into a break, pull an amazing card, and then that breaker can just not ship you that card, because your recourse is then getting a refund from Whatnot. And the breaker really is just, there was a mix up, and we get an email every week, practically every day about this. Hey, I won this card on Whatnot. Here's a screenshot of me winning it, blah, 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 blah. Package showed up, card's missing. I email the breaker and he gives me the runaround. Yeah, 99.9% of the time, dang near 100% of the time, Whatnot refunds the buyer, but the card's gone. So breakers, especially ones that don't care about their integrity and may not be around very long, they'll just dip your cards. They pull a nice superfractor, nice card. It doesn't have to be that nice. It could be a $50 card, but they're like, I don't know that guy. He's a new customer. I'm just going to, dip this card, and then maybe he'll contact me. Maybe I'm not. Imagine how many people get a card missing and then they don't want the hassle of contacting Whatnot and getting a refund. Imagine how many times that has happened. Imagine the amount of people that haven't contacted us, and that just what we know about is like an almost daily occurrence. So good idea from Whatnot. It's just executing this day after day, I think, could be a challenge without like Kelly Kell said, dedicated employees.
Sure. And we'll obviously be here to cover it. And if Kelly Kell gets hired, it might bring some credibility
It'd be a good
to
hire.
what Whatnot is doing. Just randomly shines rap sheet here for drug trafficking.
We're gonna send him commissary. Don't worry.
Conspiracy to traffic drugs.
That's like the least shot. Okay. Wait a minute. Time
Your
out.
probation.
Time out. We're in the real talk hour.
Okay.
The least like these are the most obvious things. ECG was going to go out of business. Shine had dealt drugs at some point in his life. Like, to me, like, those are the most obvious freaking things. It's like water's wet, sky's blue. ECG was going to go out of business. Shine had dealt drugs and probably knows some dancers that I know out here in California. That's just the reality of the situation.
Are you saying this as a fact that that the dancers that you've dipped with have
No,
also
that is
dipped with-
that was hyperbole. That was just-
hyperbole. Okay.
Yes.
Just wondering. It's Real Talk Hour. I had a ton of fun bidding on cards this week. I know that's not what over the 500 people in chat want to hear. They want to hear us talking crap on a lot of people. But I had a ton of fun bidding on cards. We did an unboxing video on our Clips channel. And look, we're having a really successful the cards are kind of slowly trickling in. We're getting like a 50-pound box next week, so it's gonna be a little bit more than a slow trickle. But what we're doing is we're buying these and then we're turning around, we're listing a lot of them on eBay. That's been a lot of success as well. And but there was some really interesting cards that I kind of wanted to see here. There was this Larry Bird Magic Johnson championship game ticket stub, just a ticket stub, graded authentic. This sold for $18.60. So very interesting. Obviously, this card was one I wanted to bid on. I don't quite have $1,800, but that's about what this one ended at. Just a fantastic card. Number that had 200. I mean, just incredible. This is really surprising. So I wasn't even really aware of this market, and then just surfing the auctions every week on the kind of weekly auctions over here at Golden. I wasn't even aware that these sealed VHS, I realized some of them had value, but they're starting to grade these things, and some of them sell for these big. I even bid on one, not this week, but last week. I bid on the Jurassic Park one this week. Actually, it went for a little too much, but $1,500 with a buyer's premium on Jaws. That's not even the original Jaws. That is Jaws 2. Shame to say, the first time I ever seen Anthony Edwards play was actually last night. They played the Suns, I think. I had never seen him play a game. You probably can tell I have 2 young children and, pretty wrapped up into
pretty good, isn't he?
This guy's a very good basketball player. And it's anybody that's followed the channel here on for the channel for any length of time. No, I don't really hand out compliments for basketball players very much. Luka Doncic, I think, sucks. I think is not a very good player. I think his team's record shows it. He's playing with one of the best players he's ever played with, and he sucks. He's not a very good player, okay? He needs the ball in his hands 24 hours a day in order just to put up relatively decent numbers. Anthony Edwards is a fantastic player. I actually think he should be more selfish. I think he was a little under the weather last night. I was very impressed with this guy. Now, am I $20,000, $20,000 American dollars excited about this guy on a BGS 9 at a 99? I mean, no.
That is one of his best cards, though.
But obviously, yeah, this is probably his best card. And not in the best grade, but obviously these are hard to, I believe that's on card. It looks like maybe it is. Yeah. Obviously these get tossed around a little bit before they make it in a pack. So it's hard to get 10s on these things. Very impressed with this young man. And he's somebody that, if I wanted to buy some basketball players, a young basketball player, I think this guy would be near the top. Very good basketball player. Speaking of good basketball players, I mean, $26,000 for this. Yeah, just spectacular card. Just
shit's hard. Damn.
Spectacular. Here's the surprise maybe of the night. This might be the most expensive Leaf card in history. We're looking at $7,200 with a buyer's premium. This is a manufactured, made exclusive in the USA. I like how they add that. It's a commemorative patch of Xi Jinping, who's I think the most proper way is to say he's the ruler of China. One of one, $7,200. I tell you what, Brian Gray is probably watching this, and he is probably running to make a few of these cards and auction them off as quickly as he possibly can. $7,200. That's strong.
Maybe that's his auction.
Yeah, he's pumping this up because he's got about 20 of them that he's got. Because this is just like the red. Which one's this? This is the world leader's flag. He's probably got 10 variations of this one of one, and he's about to dump the rest of them. This was a cool card. It's I believe it's Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey, 2 Nike logos. Creative card. 4,000's a little rich for me. Here's what I love. These atomic refractors are just spectacular. $2,600 basically. And obviously Kobe, I mean, if he signs this is a 5-figure card, but just a jersey card, $2,800. So there's going to be players playing today. We don't necessarily know who they are, but there are going to be players that are playing today that are going to have, quote, common jersey cards that are going to be worth this type of money in the future. So, because nobody back in, when was this, 1998, would have thought, what are we, 20 years later, a little over 20 years later, this would be a $2,800 card in mint 9 condition. Nobody would have thought that. Nobody would have thought about even putting it in a PSA slab back in 1998. You would have sent this to BGS. So, yeah, I mean, I had a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun bidding on this stuff. I have a fun looking at this stuff. This is the way I am kind of educating myself, if you will, in this hobby. It used to be that we would put this information up on our website, but now I'm more or less kind of going through these auctions and just having a good time, seeing what's out there, seeing what we can win. We won some comic books. I won't bore people with that, but just looks like we maybe won that Kobe Bryant card. Looks like maybe this Johnny Unitas, which we've had success flipping. That's another thing. When you constantly sell cards, you're going to constantly resell kind of the same stuff. And so, we're going to constantly doing this stuff. Tyrese Halliburton. Does Tyrese Halliburton still play for the Kings, or is he playing for somebody else now?
Come on. No. Wow. You really haven't watched basketball.
They
traded him for Sabonis.
They traded him
to the Indiana. And
Okay.
Sabonis is beasted with they both have played well, but Sabonis has basically led the Kings to their first playoff berth and whatever since Jason Williams.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I might have watched my first NBA basketball game of the year last night. I had it just on randomly. Looks like we're winning some stuff this week. Nothing. It doesn't look like anything big. Looks like a Super Bowl program for $11. That might be a good price.
That's the one I wanted to win right there. That one's expensive. That's money right there.
So you had a $51 bid. It looks like maybe we'll win that for $33 or $40. Yeah, $40. Looks like $40.
That's worth
with a buyer's premium. Looks like you might have won a George Brett jersey. Interesting.
No way that's not worth more than that. I mean, somebody could just buy that and wear that. Dope.
I don't even. Jersey. It says it's a 1994 George Brett custom made jersey and a Bob Feller cut. It doesn't look like we won a whole lot this week. Just a couple $100. I don't think they're all here on what I just scrolled down. Looks like we won about $500 worth of cards, which is a little light. I think we won a little bit more last week, and maybe it's because we were drinking. But I just have fun on these things. I don't know why. I just have fun kind of going through these auctions and looking at cards, trying to win certain ones. Like I was a bidder on that Kobe. I was a bidder on probably over 100 cards this week. Here's a Tiger Woods. Obviously, we could have some movement in golf. So obviously, most people realize this, but we've got the Masters next week. The forecast looks really good too. It looked like 70s or 80s all week, which is not always the case. Probably means the course is going to be super hard and fast and firm, and it's going to likely favor the more experienced players, because when that course is really soft, you can kind of fire at the flagstick. The ball is going to hold on the greens, those types of things. But not to get deep into the you probably can tell I'm excited about the Masters. But next week, if it's dry all week and they can firm that thing out, it's likely going to favor the people that have played that course. Because you get on the wrong side of a green, wrong side of the fairway, wrong side of that course, all of a sudden it brings 6, 7, 8 into play. And you tend to see that out of people. And obviously what brought that to mind is this was Tiger Woods' original logo when he first came up with his own logos, like this kind of yin and yang thing and a nice little signed hat. Looks like his autograph kind of PSA DNA on anything looks like it sells for about $530, which is actually a little lower than probably where it is normally, although that's on a hat. You get it on a more presentable item, like maybe an 8x10 or a ticket stub or something like that, might be worth a little bit more. I was a big bidder on comic books this week, but I was trying to get them for 50 off essentially. So I actually can see that my top bid was 45. The final bid was 98. I kind of feel good when I see that, like, here's another. I almost won that one. That one was close. I'm just really interested in these comic books as well. My kids are into Batman and Spider-Man and these types of things. And so I've been watching this. Ryan, do you have any, any thoughts on this week? This card sold for $425. This was a cool card. I was up to $400. So I was close on that one. Looks like we came close on some of this stuff. This Joker card, this is actually a $50 card. So I almost won that, but somebody got that for $24, probably about $30 with a buyer's premium. You'd be able to resell that card for about $50 on a good day. Ryan, you had any thoughts this week on the auctions?
Yeah, no, just, like I said, you could come here at, on these auctions on Thursday, kick your feet up, turn on some baseball, turn on some football, turn on some basketball, turn on whatever you want, and just bid on these things kind of last minute and see what you could win. That's kind of what I did. I may have took a look at it a little bit last night, but really just a little bit today. The Giants got smoked 5-0, but during that time I was bidding on stuff on a variety of different sites, bid on these Gary V cards. Oh, wow. Those went for a lot. Okay.
So somebody's pumping that.
So yeah, a lot of bids at the end on that, because I think I only put like $10-20 on those. I figured, well, maybe. And so yeah, they end up at 200. So you could come on here and get any number of different items. We bought a Chet Holmgren PSA 10 card, the Oklahoma City number 2 pick in the draft. Colin, you probably don't know. If you don't know NBA, you really don't know who that cat is. Used to play for Gonzaga, so yeah, it's probably actually come through Stockton a couple times. We bought one of his cards for $11, flipped it a couple days later on eBay, or actually the same day, we picked it up from you for $40. So there are opportunities to buy stuff on Golden, flip it on eBay, buy stuff on PWCC, flip it on eBay, buy stuff on Golden, sell it back on Golden, send a bulk lot into ComC. So what I like to do is buy stuff on these different platforms and move it around. There's stuff that sells really well on Golden. There's stuff that sells really well on eBay. There's stuff that sells really well on ComC. It has its little sweet spot of $2 to $20 cards. So my goal is to just move kind of cards around. Ross Reagan with the $49.99. Sorry to interrupt. I am sampling outlets to sell 1,000+ slab lots of blue chips. I've been randomly shipping cards to platforms and bid consigners to find one. Any advice who to definitely stay away from, or maybe any of the names I haven't thought of? Well, if you're sending slabs in, you're probably using some of the big consigners, Golden, PWCC, if I'm reading this right, Probstein.
Golden has no fees
Sports.
right now.
Golden has no fees.
Through the end of April, I think it was supposed to be the end of March. I think they extended it. To me, like, no fees is, the conversation kind of ends, starts and ends there. Now, when you send your cards in, you might want to maybe leave a little customer service note or something that you want these to get on there and listed, so they experience kind of the no fee situation. Because as we know, Ryan, there is a lag time between sending cards in, getting them listed on the auctions, having them run, because the next week's auction's already up. So you can come to weekly auctions and the next week is already up. And so if you send in cards today, it's not going to make next week's auction, probably not going to even make the following week's auction.
You could, because I put a couple things in, not next week, but the week after. So if you had something in the vault right now that was live, you could get it in the next weekly. Not the one coming up because it's already live, but the one that isn't live, the one that will go live. I think he goes live Tuesday or Wednesday on those.
Sure. And so there's no fees right now. And what I'm saying, and look, I'm not an expert on card prices or anything like that, but these prices seem relatively strong to me. It's gotten a lot stronger. I know the first couple of weeks we were on gold and we were like, dude, this is like robbing these sellers because the deals were so good. They've tightened up a little bit, the spread between a good deal and, we got $6,000, $7,200 Xi Jinping cards. So clearly there are bidders on here. And so, I would say with the no fees, I would tend to lean towards going with no fees. I mean, I don't know. And then, but there's certainly cards that sell a little bit better on eBay. And on eBay, you've got DC and you've got Probstein, probably would be the only two that I would deal with on there. And that's about it. We've had our problems with PWCC and, we've had problems with PWCC. So, those are the only ones I would sell cards with right now at the moment. If I was not going to sell them myself, raw cards are a little bit different. The raw cards, I think we send over to check on my cards. I think they do a nice job with the ungraded stuff. But if it was graded, I think I'm going with the two guys on eBay or with Golden, really, because there's just simply no fees. And so I'm a big fan of no fees. These V Friends cards, I swear, somebody must be in here. $151.
I was high bid at $13. That's the thing.
These are out of 500. These are out of 500. Who's buying these? Who's the buyer of these?
Gary V, maybe.
So Ross says, I really want to pay someone to auction them in a big auction on Whatnot. I don't know enough about Whatnot. I would just be careful on Whatnot. I don't know anybody on Whatnot that does it. If there is somebody on Whatnot,
could move that type of number. To like 10 Jordan rookies.
Because we don't want this situation to happen, guys. We don't want this situation to happen. Okay. This situation happens. Okay. And I just wouldn't trust anybody, like when I sold a big ticket item a couple of weeks ago to fund our sports card business. I went to somebody that I know and that I've bought from in the past, and I've bought watches from them. I've sold watches through them. I've traded watches with them. I even recommended my wife's uncle is a big watch guy, and I know he's traded watches back and forth with Luxury Bazaar out of Philadelphia. They would be one of the only people I would trust in that type of deal. Do I know other watch dealers? Could I have gotten a larger price? Could I have gone somewhere else? Yeah, but when it's big money, go with the people that most people trust with those types of things. Again, it's not any guarantee that things go flawlessly, but I'd hate to see somebody consign 5-6 figures of cards and have it turn out like this.
You get this. Yeah.
And you get this. And then you're just sitting there and being like, I'm an idiot. It just would be painful to say the least, in my opinion. Ryan, we've had an eventful show. We've gone over an hour. We've had over 500 people in the chat. Maybe we should answer some questions really quickly. Tim, I'm going to roll through some of the star chats. What's going on with that PPP? We've got the Bills Mafia. Really looking forward to this NFL season. I know it's a little early for that. I will sell nuclear secrets to China for cards. Well, Johnny Rips, Xi Jinping is your man. I guarantee you. Jeff Wilson is using that PPP on Will Grier. John Fishman with the $1.99. Better long-term investment, Jeff Wilson or Brian Gray. Ryan, do you have a comment on that one or?
BG, because he actually has a real business that brings in money. I mean, come on, that's easy. That's an easy one. Come on.
Sure. High fades. What are we looking at auctions tonight? We kind of, not to kind of repeat ourselves, but we kind of went over. It looks like we won about $800 worth of stuff, which is not a big week for us, but it was nothing that big. I was trying to score. I think you might have saw a few of the things I scrolled by. I was trying to win a decent Kobe. I was trying to win a LeBron jersey. I was trying to win something in that $200 to $300 range. It just looks like just over the mark on some of it. And we'll pick this up again next week. We're trying to spend a little over 1,000 every week, maybe a little more than that. And so far, so good. And it's been a little slow because we've shipped the cards that we've won more recently and they're still in transit. And so we'll have more from a sales perspective in the coming weeks. Thoughts on PWCC auctions? I don't like Brent. I mean, that's all I can say. He's involved in card trimming. I don't like Jesse Craig, who also is at PWCC. We know some other stuff that we haven't shared from internal communications over at PWCC. Do I think they're going to run off with your cards? Do I think they're going to run off with your money? No, I don't think so. But do I trust PWCC? Absolutely not. Love the Clips channel. Thank you, Philly Joe. It's Sports Card Radio Clips. We'll be clipping out of this. I want a great curator card. I do too. I'll take a great curator card with DAPS maybe. Ken Golden didn't make the list. Yeah, he didn't. I guess he's got his own Netflix show. So I guess if you would ask me what I want, a baseball card or a Netflix show, I'm 100% taking the Netflix show. So Ken Golden made out with that one. That's for sure. Looks like that premieres, I think, next month. My wife was like, should I set I think it premieres at like 3 a.m. here on the West Coast or something. She was like, should I set the notification? I was like, no, I think we'll watch it the next day. I won't stay up for that one. I'm sure Ken, though, will be staying up for that one. That's for sure. Brian Bayless, these cards belong in the Topps dog list. That's for sure. Top Shelf Breaks with the generous $102 will be dripped out in Top Shelf Breaks next week, and probably, buying into several breaks and hitting the case hits. I'm just kidding a little bit, but we appreciate that very much. Pat with the $1.99. Yeah, we're definitely not going to get used to that. Dan the Card Man checking in. Love his videos. Dallas Card Show is fantastic. Mr. J. Lawrence, Javon Lawrence emailed us, and so we might be doing something with him here in a minute. He came in with $110, so appreciate that. With the Drip Shop Live, would love to talk to you more. I will get back to your email here shortly. Hobby Shark with the $1.99, talking about our boy. What's our boy's name? Can't remember his name. Shine. Yeah, Shine. There he is, guys. Looking good. Work at a steakhouse in Dallas. Dinner and wine on me. It's something possibly. I know that they're going to make that Tesla Cybertruck down in Dallas. I probably won't get one this year, but if I'm on the list, I'm going to actually go to Texas and pick it up, make that drive and have a little road trip on the way back. So hopefully we can plan that around a card show or something. The Card Rabbi says he's one of the victims. If you are a victim of Homeboy, this dude, sportscardshow@gmail.com. We will be aggregating this all information. It's still percolating a little bit, but I think we'll do a more formal kind of full-length feature video on this guy in the near future. And so obviously we want all of his info. Kelly Cal coming in with the $2. We are not the Retail Kings, that's for sure. AIH Sports, nice picture of Shine. I'm sure his mom is very, very, very proud of him. These cards are gone as Mr. President Biden's mental acuity. Yeah, well, we got one president with low IQ and another one looks like he's maybe off to prison. See what happens there. Crazy story. We definitely would love to talk to you about it. Who is TFG Shine 150, aka Matt Allen? That's $1.99. Shine is a big buyer of sports cards, and somebody
he was the one who also was involved with Logan Paul, who sold the case to Logan Paul that when he opened it on video and the G.I. Joe cards popped out and we all got duped. So that's how Shine kind of became on the radar of the sports card community, is that kind of the Logan Paul transaction. And then, I think he has a really well followed Instagram account where, he shows off all the cards he purchases. And I think he was having dinner with Fanatics the other night. So just kind of a well-connected guy.
Yeah, he's probably connected with some of the paraphernalia, if you will, that some of these people like as well. Kelly Cal, they should hire actual employees to handle this. Ironically, when I tweeted, I said you need a moderation platform. And yeah, I think they should put like a head of moderation, and then the idea to allow the community to kind of police things as well. I actually think that is a strong idea. DraftKings and FanDuel need to partner with Fanatics as a breaking platform. I think Fanatics is almost in competition with FanDuel and DraftKings because they've got a sports book coming. And so we'll see. Shine met with someone at Fanatics. My guess is Shine is going to be a golden boy of this hobby. Watch the Joker. That movie I've heard is really good. My kids are a little young to watch that one, but I've heard it's really good. I tried to win that Joker card. She collects cards, wants to grow up and be like Shine. Ant is only 21. I was very impressed. Again, I am way behind the times. I know a lot about Cincinnati Bengals football, and that's about it. These are penny prices. Inflation's around the 2 on the way. Appreciate it. Thank you. Tell me about the comics. I will do more comic book stuff. We have some coming next week for the unboxing. I've listed one on eBay. I got it for like 20 or 30 off, about what you'd expect with the cards. Did you guys see Otani's Japanese baseball cards? I mean, he's a fantastic player, and I'm not surprised that his card. I mean, we grew up when Ichiro like blew up, and we remember those are probably hundreds of dollars. And back in those days, it was like, oh my God, people are paying $300 for his SPX rookie card or whatever. And it was crazy. And so it doesn't surprise me anything like that. Would you explain what a buyer's premium is? Yes. And so on this site, on Golden, in fact, most auction sites that are not named eBay have a buyer's premium. So this person on this card bid $151. There is a buyer's premium. So in other words, like a commission on top of that, and so you end up paying $181. What I find this buyer's premium is covering is things like shipping and insurance, because when we get our invoices to Golden, they are incredibly cheap. I mean, we're talking incredibly cheap to ship your cards back to you. And so this buyer's premium is more or less a shipping, insurance, customer service, payment processing charge, in my opinion. Not knowing the business from the inside out, that's how I look at this buyer's premium. Yes, some of it goes into Ken Golden's 9-figure bank account, but a lot of it goes to the mailing of these cards, the scanning, the auctions, the back office, the payment processing, UPS, FedEx, all those types of things. Ross Reagan, we talked about that. If you have blue chip cards, I would only sell them with the blue chip people. I would not take risks. Just simply would not do it in this hobby. Allison Change and Sports Cards, loving it. That was a great band. James Ferry, I think, coming in with $20. Thank you very much. This was I tell you what, ExpressVPN hooked it up, but the fans of Sports Card Radio, even more so than ExpressVPN and Manscaped, for those of you that remember that. We're getting deep into the show. How many Pearl Jam shows have you seen? Ryan's seen a heck of a lot more than I have, but I'm probably in the double digits, the light double digits, all the way back. I think the first one I went to was 1996. I think I was
95,
in high school. Ryan, any guess on how many Pearl Jam shows you've been to?
I have probably seen, I saw 3 last year, so that added to the total. I'm probably at 30 or more, or right around 30 all across. I've seen them in Wrigley Field. I've seen them in Fenway Park. I've seen them all across California, Seattle, San Diego, South Carolina. It is just, so I've gotten to travel the world and see them probably, 30 times over the years from 1995 to 2022. So from young Pearl Jam, when, things were really wild back in those 90s days, things were wild. A bunch of,
I think the best one we went to was actually that Seattle show. They hadn't played in Seattle in a long time. And we went to Seattle that one time and they played forever. I mean, they went on forever. We had terrible seats, but the thing went on forever. James coming in with a great show in Salisbury, North Carolina. Beautiful country out there. 200 tables of fire. My guys cut great deals at Sports Whack Promotions on all social media. I tell you what, if you're out there in North Carolina, just a great area, beautiful country out there. Love to make it out there.
Lots of good sports card. There's lots of good sports card shops out there. There's good shows that pop out there. So if you guys are in that area, or within a state or two, and it's only an hour or two, worth it to check out those shows in North Carolina, South Carolina.
Sports Wax Promotions on
Boom.
all social media. That was James with the $10. Dan, the card man, how much are you guys up overall with your golden buys? I would say it's difficult. Obviously, we're in an inventory building situation over it. We have a $49 balance, but I think we took off about $1,000 over here. We've sold about $1,000 on eBay. I tell you what, we're still in kind of if you look at like our orders that we've paid, we've, here's 1,200, 1,300, 1,500, we're in for well over, it looks like $2,500, more than that. We're in for like, this is probably close to $5,000 right here. We've probably had about $2,000 in sales. And so, but profit wise, it's been good. I mean, you sold that Chet Holmgren, you bought it for 10, you sold it for 40 on eBay. My guess is your profit on that is pretty darn near 20. We've
15,
had
17 probably. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had numerous sales, a lot of sales where it's like $2, $3, $4, $5. I would say our overall profit margin on what we've sold is probably about 20%. Gross or net, plus or minus a couple of percentage points. So if we've taken in we're right about $2,000 in sales at this point, we've probably grossed about $400 in actual profit. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot, and it's not, but we're building this stuff up. And as you can see, we've only received like basically $3,000 worth of cards. We've got well north of that coming to us, and then we've got some sitting in the vault. So we're just scaling this things up. I think at some point though, we need to set a goal. We need to say, okay, for maybe not April, but in May, we need to do 10,000 in sales. And I think that's what we need to start doing. The other thing that Ryan and I have talked about privately off air is I still deal with a lot of stuff on Amazon and sports card supplies, and there's trading card games that we could be getting wholesale. I think we're going to roll all of these business into one. And we're going to start selling on Amazon, obviously eBay. We're going to be doing, all these types of things and continue to do that. Thank you for the consistency and quality content, boys. We'll be back again next Thursday. Dan the Card Man says, makes sense. The margin opportunity for arbitrage are great on Golden right now. I would say they are. It takes a little bit of work, but like Ryan said, sitting around watching a baseball game, I'll be sitting around watching a little bit of playoff basketball. I'll be sitting around watching March Madness. I'll be sitting on my couch from Thursday to Sunday next week as well. I was hoping to be at the cabin, but it looks like it's going to be snowing. So I'll be sitting on my couch at home just doing this. And so we'll join you again next Thursday here on Sports Card Radio. Ryan, do you have any last words for the faithful in the chat, the very generous faithful in the chat this week? Just extraordinary generous. We thought ExpressVPN was generous. The chat in Sports Card Radio. Bryant coming in with $1.99. Del Mar Show in San Diego. Seen Sasha T. Got a Brady rookie. That's right. Ryan, any last words for the faithful that have hung around for the hour and 20 minutes?
Thanks everybody for watching, and go get your PPP loans in, and buy your Jeff Wilson big league cards. Those are going to be the hot things. I think those are going to be a good investment.
Thank you very much for tuning in this week. Again, we'll see you next Thursday. It'll be the start of the Masters. We'll have crowned an NCAA champion, and we'll be one step closer to the NBA playoffs, and one step closer to the NFL draft, and a week in on the Major League Baseball season. Until then, we hope you all have a wonderful day out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. But for now, we are out of here.
B-side on the beat.
What's going on with that PPP? You done a lot of talking, not a lot to see. Up in the millions like 2.3, but Jeff got it all, getting off scot-free. Try to talk tips like we talking about stock, but you're talking about men printed on called stock. When you open your mouth, I take it with a grain of salt, cause the market's down and you're a clown, it's all your fault. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. Did you dip, Jeff? I think you dipped, Jeff. What you talking about? I don't think you dipped yet. Willie's doing shady shit like the GOBs, like his whole failed thing with them NFTs, taking money from the people to pay. Most of them are broke, but that's okay, he's getting money. Even better, tax-free, loving all the stimulus from PPP. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson.
You can't spell my phone just in case my
with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit.
We'll go one more time.
One more time. Why not?
B-side on the beat.
What's going on with that PPP? You done a lot of talking, not a lot to see. Up in the millions like 2.3, but Jeff got it all, getting off scot-free. Try to talk tips like we talking about stock, but you're talking about men printed on called stock. When you open your mouth, I take it with a grain of salt, cause the market's down and you're a clown, it's all your fault. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. Did you dip, Jeff? I think you dipped, Jeff. What you talking about? I don't think you dipped yet. Willie's doing shady shit like the GOBs, like his whole failed thing with them NFTs, taking money from the people to pay. Most of them are broke, but that's okay, he's getting money. Even better, tax-free, loving all the stimulus from PPP. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit.
Peace.